All right, guys, so a reoccurring theme of the Biden administration is how embarrassing the vice president of the United States is, okay? I mean, we think that Joe Biden is embarrassing because of his mental lapses and obvious struggles that he's having in his head. Kamala seems to be struggling in her own way, okay? She's very much struggling. And it almost seems like on a routine basis, she's embarrassing herself and showing exactly why we should not use affirmative action to hire people. And we especially should not be using affirmative action to determine who's going to be running this country, right? I think Kamala Harris has clearly shown the disastrous consequences of affirmative action when you are using it to appoint and to select people who are going to be running this country. Okay, I think that's clear. And don't get mad at me for calling Kamala Harris an affirmative action vice president, because Joe Biden is the one that told us that he selected her because of affirmative action, because he said, listen, I am going to pick somebody that is black and has a vagina, right? That was his criteria. So don't get mad at me for simply describing what Joe Biden said that he did when it came to picking his vice president. And I guarantee you he is having some serious regrets about it, okay? Because again, as much as he embarrasses himself, Kamala embarrasses herself just as much, which basically is a reflection of him and his ability to make decisions, okay? So we're going to talk about that, as Kamala has embarrassed herself once again in one of the worst ways possible. But before we get into that, I just want to let you guys know that if you like my commentary, you like my channel, you want to support my channel, you can do so using the links in the description below. You support the Patreon, you support the PayPal, you support the merch. There are multiple ways to support the channel if you would like to do so, including getting yourself one of my signature racist mugs, which is a daily reminder of the 2022 definition of racist according to the left, which is basically anybody that disagrees with the Democrat Party. So without further ado, let's talk about Kamala and how embarrassing she's been, okay, over the last few days. First, it started at the end of Black History Month, as the White House was having some conference about Black History Month or whatever, and Jill Biden actually kind of started this off, as she accidentally, or maybe even purposely, referred to Kamala Harris as the president right in front of her husband, Joe. Take a look.
And is proud to be the first, but not the last. Ladies, ladies and gentlemen, the vice president of the I just said that to make you laugh. The Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris.
Yeah, so I definitely think that that was on purpose, right? And I don't necessarily think that she did it as a harmless joke, right? I think that Jill Biden had some other intentions there, because Jill don't really like Kamala all that much, right? According to the tabloids, that is, right? Allegedly, Jill told Kamala to go F herself after Kamala accused her husband, Joe, of basically being a racist in Me Too during a Democrat debate, right? Basically in front of the world, okay? In front of the country. And there's been rumors about Jill Biden not really liking Kamala in the White House, and Jill even going as far as to inquire how to remove Kamala from the vice presidency, okay? Now, again, we don't necessarily know if those rumors are true or not. I'm just saying, up until now, all indications are that Jill and Kamala don't really like each other all that much, okay? So I think what Jill is doing here is that she's introducing Kamala as the president as a joke in order to try to kind of say, hey, she's the one really running things here, right? So you know that inflation crisis, the border crisis, the supply chain crisis, Afghanistan, Ukraine, Russia, crime, you know, the disaster that's happening in this country right now, all the disasters, that's on Kamala. She's actually the president, right? She's the one running things, okay? Now, again, that's just my interpretation of it, okay? I very much could be wrong, but I think that Jill is trying to get at something a little bit deeper here, okay? But the real embarrassment here for Kamala that really happens is when she actually gets up to the podium and speaks.
Because as we all know, elections matter. And when folks vote, they order what they want, and in this case, they got what they asked for. I went off script a little bit. And Judge Jackson, of course, will make a phenomenal justice.
Now, in all fairness to Kamala, she's talking about Judge Ketanji Jackson, okay, the new affirmative action Supreme Court justice that Biden has basically nominated, okay? But I don't think Kamala realized when she was saying that what she actually was saying and what that sounded like, okay? Because she says, quote, when folks vote, they order what they want, and in this case, they got what they asked for. Okay, so take out the context of a black woman Supreme Court justice, which, you know, I don't know who was voting with that in mind, okay? But I'm pretty sure the American people did not vote for record high inflation, a border crisis, a supply chain crisis, surging crime, a decaying social fabric, being embarrassed on the world stage when it comes to Afghanistan and what's going on in Ukraine. I'm pretty sure that the American people did not vote for that. But who knows? The people who did vote Democrat, maybe they did vote for not having mean tweets, because that is why a lot of people that did vote Democrat, that's why they voted Democrat. Not because they like Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. It's simply because they wanted to get mean tweets out of office, right? And they got mean tweets out of office, and look what happened, right? So who knows? Maybe Kamala is right to a certain extent here. People did get what they asked for. The people that did vote Democrat, they didn't want mean tweets in office. This is what they got, right? This is the consequences of not having mean tweets. But regardless, with that being said, I know one thing, that Republicans will definitely use that snippet, that line from Kamala, in almost every single one of their attack ads for as long as she is in office, right? Maybe even forever, okay? As a way to describe the disastrous consequences of voting for Democrats, okay? So yeah, congratulations to Kamala for embarrassing herself with that line that will end up in Republican political ads, okay? Congratulations to Kamala, okay? So that's also not the last time that she embarrassed herself over the past few days. She actually embarrassed herself right before the State of the Union, as she did an interview with The Morning Hustle, which is a hip-hop radio show whose primary audience is black people, and I want y'all to keep that in mind, because I think that has something to do with how embarrassing this thing is, in which she's asked about the Russia-Ukraine crisis and to explain it to people, and she literally gives a kindergartner's explanation of what is happening with Russia and Ukraine. Take a look.
If you're watching any level of news, even social media, you're seeing everything that's going on right now in the Ukraine. Break it down in layman's terms for people who don't understand what's going on and how can this directly affect the people of the United States.
So Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically, that's wrong.
Bruh, oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, I don't have any words for that. Okay, she literally is like, Russia, big country. Ukraine, small country. They right next to each other. Russia decides to invade Ukraine. That is wrong. Again, this is a kindergartner's explanation of the crisis, okay? Again, there's only two explanations for why she would explain it the way she's explaining it. Both of them are pretty bad, okay? The first explanation, which I really hope that this is not it, okay? Because if this is it, this is a bad sign, right, moving forward for our country, okay, that she's running this country. That is literally her understanding of the crisis, and she can't explain it in any other way other than that, right? That is her explanation. She doesn't have a more nuanced understanding of what's going on, okay? Because I understand that the radio host asked her, hey, can you explain it in layman's terms, right? Explain it in layman's terms would be saying something like, hey, you know, Ukraine is a country in Eastern Europe, and Russia is trying to invade Ukraine because Vladimir Putin has interest in trying to restore the Soviet Union, which collapsed back in the early 90s. And that is bad for America because it's bad for our allies. Okay, our allies over there in Europe, in order to protect them, it is crucial that Ukraine does not fall to Russia, right? That is a layman, simple explanation of what's going on without talking to people like they are in kindergarten. Okay, and that brings me to my next point and explanation of why she said it this way. And it's kind of messed up. It's really messed up. Kamala in her head knows that the audience that she's talking to is black people, right? And we know that because anytime Kamala is talking to an audience, right, she changes her accent and the way that she talks, her dialect, to match the audience that she's talking to, because she's a shapeshifter, a fake politician, right? So she knows that the audience she's talking to is black. She might actually believe in her head that the audience that she's talking to legitimately is either dumb, right? Too dumb to really understand what's going on here, or too ignorant to know even the basics about what is going on in Ukraine, right? Or Russia, right? So much so that they don't even know where Ukraine and Russia are on a map, okay? Which, again, I mean, hey, look, this ain't just something that applies to black people. I mean, a lot of Americans in general are really bad at geography, to be quite honest with you. So, I mean, this could be something that's relatively harmless, right? But again, at the same time, it's embarrassing because you have the sitting vice president of this country that is explaining a foreign policy situation like she's a kindergartner. And my only explanation for it is simply that she doesn't understand what's going on, which is terrible for the country if she actually really doesn't understand what's going on in Russia and Ukraine. That's, put it this way, she doesn't understand enough to explain it better than that. Or she legitimately thinks that the audience that she's talking to is stupid, right? That honestly is the only two explanations I have for that, okay? And I think both of them are pretty bad, okay? With the former probably being the worst. So with that being said, again, this is just another example of Kamala just laying an egg, right? She's just not that impressive, okay? That's why when these, chickens on The View, these cackling hens go up here and talk about, oh, people don't like Kamala because she's black, right? Or people don't like Kamala because she's a woman. And it's like, no. Kamala's just simply not an impressive person, okay? Like, it is very, very clear and obvious that she has not gotten to where she's at right now in her career based off anything that has come out of her mouth, okay? In fact, it's probably the exact opposite. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.